Advocates in Leadership, and welcome to Advocacy Day, and my visual description is I'm a white middle-aged man with a red sweater on. Yes, I like sweaters. Today we will be discussing community services and community rights. After our program, at the church, we invite you to follow us over to the Capitol steps, where we will do a rally. A few things: the restrooms are behind the sanctuary and to the right. Second, if you haven't done so, please sign the ARC sign-in sheet in the lobby, as this will help us do these events in the future. Third, we ask everyone to park either at the Capitol campus or on the street, as the United Churches of Olympia doesn't allow people to park in their parking lot. And now I'm going to pass it to my co-facilitator Emily to introduce herself.
Good morning. My name is Emily Rogers. I'm really happy to see everyone here today. I am the Public Policy Director for the DD Council, and we're just so pleased that you've all made the journey to be with us this morning in person. This is super cool, really awesome. Thank you so much. And we have a great program lined up for this morning for you, and then as Sean said, the rally will be at noon at the Capitol steps, so please come if you're able. We want to see everybody there. This is a really important day for our community. Thanks.
Now I'm going to get into our topic today, which is about protecting our services and our rights, so that we can live in the community. Again, my name is Sean Latham, from Yelm, Washington. I was born with an unknown neurological condition that affects my physical movement and my speech. I've been in the advocacy field since 2004, when I graduated from college at Central. I've worked at Centers for Independent Living, and now two advocacy organizations, Self-Advocates in Leadership and Allies in Advocacy, fighting for the civil and equal rights of people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. For Self-Advocates in Leadership, or SAIL, I'm the policy coordinator working on legislative advocacy at the state and national levels. Next slide. SAIL is a membership coalition for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities, I/DD, that is interested in shaping public policy in Washington state and the United States. We have generally worked at the state level, but have recently also advocated for better policies and laws at the federal level. SAIL offers the information, training, and other assistance people with I/DD need to speak up and be heard by government lawmakers. We do our best to equip and train future generations to make continued meaningful change for those with I/DD. SAIL currently holds monthly meetings on the second Tuesday, from 1 to 4 p.m., over the SAIL Zoom. We will also have 4 in-person meetings throughout the year, generally in SeaTac. We encourage state legislators, elected leaders and other community leaders to come to a SAIL meeting when they are able to discuss how we can work together to improve the lives of people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. Next slide. People with disabilities are just like all human beings in that we just want to be included, to belong, we want to feel loved, and we want to have a meaningful life with purpose. It is important to us to be able to live in our local communities just like all of you. As we live in the community of our choice, we value the following. First, having a safe place to lay our heads every night is important so that we can excel in life. That place needs to be accessible and affordable. We may choose to live with family members, we might want roommates, or we might choose to live on our own. Either way, like all human beings, we want the dignity and respect to choose where and how to live. Other things we value are an education system that pushes us to our full potential, a transportation system that gets us to where we need to go. We need residential support to live where we want and provider support to help us live there. This helps us be independent. We need employment and recreational opportunities that gives us opportunities and freedom. And we need other community activities that helps us forms relationships. You will be hearing about some of these later from our speakers. Next slide. This year, with all of the federal changes and cuts plus state deficit issues, means we all need to come together and say protect our right to live in the community, protect our services. We know cutting services to individuals and families makes it harder for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities to stay independent and lead meaningful lives. Services like waiver services, education and employment assistance, community inclusion, community engagement, and residential services should not be cut. I would add personally, if I didn't have family support and access to in-home care providers, my choices to live in the community would be limited. Without in-home care or agency provides, my only other community choice is an adult family home. Otherwise, I would have to live at an institution. Next slide. Speaking of which, one of SAIL's biggest priorities each year is moving from using congregate settings to community ones. SAIL members think all people with intellectual and developmental disabilities deserve to live in a community setting of their choice that doesn't restrict their rights. We are advocating for all developmental disability institutions to have a reduction plan created. In fact, we are working with People First of Washington on a bill that we hope that will come up next year, which would close all of our institutions by 2036. Now, we know that 4,700 individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities, many of whom have higher physical and behavioral acuity needs, gets the same care through supported living services. Compare that to the 429 individuals that reside in institutions receiving the same kind of care as supported living services at a higher price. So we see the time is now to close the DD institutions. We also don't want to see other types of institutions house people with intellectual and developmental disabilities for long, unnecessary periods, like hospitals, nursing homes, or temporary crisis care centers. Therefore, we want to make sure programs that assist people transitioning from these institutions to the community are fully funded, as well as make sure we have enough residential settings and waiver slots. Next slide. I wanted to show you a table comparing costs at different settings. As individuals have been leaving institutions, they have been receiving their services at a fraction of the cost. For example, those in a DD institution have an average daily cost of around $2,600. For example, those at Rainier cost $2,400 per day, those at Yakima cost $1,500 per day. while those in the community cost less. For example, those in the supported living program have a daily cost of $663. Those that choose to live in adult family homes cost $181 per day. The cost difference usually has to do with how many staff and therapists they have on site. Also, since institutions pay providers a state wage instead of a lower community wage, that makes a huge difference. In addition, residential setting that sits on larger properties as institutions do can really raise the price per person living there. We ask you to please refer to the 2025 DDA, caseload, and cost report for further information. Just know for the majority of residents, we feel we can serve them at a cheaper rate in the community. Next slide. So what do we hope for moving forward? We hope to work with the Department of Social and Health Services to make sure they create plans to phase out all DD institutions and build community capacity for long-term supports. We need our state and federal lawmakers to realize that community-based services should be the right, not institutional services. We need federal lawmakers to switch the default option. We need to work with state and community partners to make sure transitions are happening and are person-centered. And finally, we need to work with the Department of Social and Health Services to make sure that any emergency crisis care and/or enhanced behavioral support services can be delivered safely in a true temporary setting. Next slide. As we see congregate settings, we need to see the following. 1. We want to see more low-income, accessible housing options. This includes providing money for the DD part of the Housing Trust Fund each year. 2. We also need improved services to assist people with housing transitions. 3. We also need a variety of residential options in the community, from adult family homes, companion homes, and state-operated living alternative. 4. We also need to support services like supported living to support people in their homes. And 5. We also must make sure all providers are paid a living wage, so there is enough support workers in the community. Next slide. And finally, we need to see access to transportation. We want access to reliable, safe, and affordable transportation across Washington state. We need to remember not to forget individuals in the rural areas. We would like to see more funding for public transportation. And lastly, we need more accessible and affordable options in the private sector. Thank you for listening.
We can go to the next one.
And next, I'm going to bring up Scott Livin Good from Alpha Supported Living to talk about supported living services.
Hello, hello. Gosh. Okay, good morning, everyone. Scott Livengood, here on behalf of CRSA, the Statewide Association of Providers. So a few things. Coming into session, we were made acutely aware that there is no money in the state. So unfortunately, that means we are not asking for a cost of living increase or anything to offset some of the low wages you see in supported living. Instead, we're here advocating for preserve and protect. Just don't cut supported living. The unfortunate part of that is while the state-operated programs are funded over twice as high, sometimes 2.5 times as high when you compare the RHCs, they have built-in cost of living increases this year, and so we are just staying flat at this point. So knowing that, we tried to look to other ways to have some efficiencies to make life easier over the next year. So one of the things that we looked at was the number of audits, QA visits, inspections that are done in supported living. We've noticed over the past several years those growing exponentially. And so we asked DDCS to provide us with a list of all of those. And for those of you who think that we got a list of maybe 10, 12, we got a list of 25. So there are now 25 different inspections, reports, evaluations that are done in supported living with significant overlap, and which is taking time away from clients. Often these are in-person inspections and evaluations that can last a week or more. So we have significant staff time dedicated to that is time away from client support. So we are advocating for House Bill 2230 and Senate Bill 6024, which creates some efficiencies to decrease the number of evaluations and inspections in certain areas. And we hope that you will advocate for that this session. So thank you.
Sixth District, Daria Fariver, to say a few words, and while she's coming up, I will also invite up Kendra Wolf, from People First of Washington, who has a very important award to give to Representative Fariver.
Thank you. Thank you, Sean. Do you want me to speak first? Yes? I'm speaking first, right, Sean? Okay. Hi, everyone. It's so great to be back here in this church that I've spent so many advocacy days in, sitting in the pews with all of you. I'm Daria Farivar. Thanks for the generous introduction, Sean. As I think many, if not all of you know, my roots are in the DD advocacy community. I spent years working at Open Doors for Multicultural Families and Disability Rights Washington, and that is what gave me the push to run for the legislature, and I'm very proud to represent the 46th District in Seattle and in the House of Representatives. It's so good to be here, and it's nostalgic, and I can't help but walk into this room and think about those that we lost last year. Kyle Mathis, Mike Raymond, who were absolute champions for the right for folks to live in the community. And that's what I understand today's Advocacy Day is all about, making sure that folks really get to use that right and live in community whenever it is possible. And I do think that that should be our first attempt, figuring out how we support individuals to live in the community, to live happy, healthy, whole lives in community with diversity around them. This last session, we had some very interesting conversations about institutional settings and about the RHCs in particular. And I'm glad that we had those conversations because it revealed a lot about my colleagues and the level of education they have on these issues, and a lot about the different political dynamics that are at play. In the conversations we had last year, we talked a lot about fear. There was a lot of folks that were very concerned that the community setting would not be adequate. We know that that is not true. There are so many folks that are being served and living in community with the amazing support of our supported living providers and our employees out there that would not be possible without their care and genuine investment in the lives of those individuals. What we didn't talk about as much last year was what's really happening and what are the daily lives of individuals who are living in those institutional settings. And this year, I'm attempting to try and rebalance that conversation with a package of bills that we have put forward. I've put forward four bills this year about the RHCs. One is about records retention, making sure that we remember and we can have access to that information of those that have come before us and what their lives were like. Two, making sure that we are calling things the right thing. Language matters. I know that this community understands that greatly, and it matters when we're talking about the types of facilities that folks live in as well. So this year, we have a bipartisan bill introduced to change the name of all of the RHCs, to remove the word school and formally call them residential habilitation centers. A long time coming. 3, we have legislation introduced that was heard yesterday, specifically trying to make sure that we bring some transparency and shed some more light on unexpected fatalities that are happening in our institutional settings, not just for RHCs, but any DSHS facilities, and making sure that legislators get access to that information as well. And then, oh my God, I'm forgetting what the 4th bill is. Lakeland Village, changing the names, unexpected fatality. And then the last one was a very last minute ad based on a recent finding of non-compliance at Rainier. We discovered that family members and guardians and the individuals at RHCs themselves are not notified whenever there is a CMS violation happening at the RHCs. So this bill would require that notification to happen and would make sure that it happens in the individual's preferred language, so that every time these facilities are out of compliance, family members, guardians, and individuals know, so that they can look out for themselves or their loved ones' well-being. We have a very, very long way to go in the legislature and educating many of my colleagues in the legislature, and I'm really glad that you all are here today to use your voices and further that education. I'm here for you always, and whatever I can do to be a good ally and accomplice and drive things forward, so thank you so much for having me.
Hi. So I am here to give an award to Daria. I'm the program administrator for People First of Washington. My name is Kendra Wolf. And last year, the board of People First was so inspired by all the work you did for human justice and individuals' rights that we thought we needed to make an award for that. So you are getting our very first Legislator of the Year award. And so there it is for you. And we really appreciate everything you do for our community, and we just love supporting you. Yeah. And this is Courtney, and she was on the board when that decision was made last year as well.
Yeah.
Okay, that's, who gets it next? There you go. Sorry.
Scott, I just want to make sure because I cut you off a little. Did you have other things to say?
Okay.
Now I will hand it off to my co-facilitator Emily Rogers to talk about why our Medicaid services matters.
Yeah, I got it. Thank you. So before I get to the formal part of why Medicaid matters, I'm curious who's in the room. This is a huge crowd for in person. I'm excited about this. So I'm wondering, do we have folks from Spokane in the room? Awesome. How about Snohomish County? Yeah. How about, let's see, Kane County? How about, let's see, gosh, Thurston County? Awesome. And let me think, where else? Tri-Cities. Wow, right on. And, Clark County, thank you. Wow, awesome. Clallam County. Yay, Jessica. Awesome. Pierce County. Oh my word, we have so many places here today. This is just awesome. Thank you for making the journey here. I know it's a long way to come, and we're grateful that you have made it. And this is such a critical time to let your legislators know why community supports are important to you. And also thank you if you participated in our little videos earlier in the morning. We really appreciate your assistance in that as well. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about Medicaid and why Medicaid matters and why it's important to keep an eye on what is happening in terms of Medicaid for everybody in this room. And Medicaid is a really important program, and lots of folks and our neighbors sometimes think of Medicaid as a program that just provides medical supports and services, but Medicaid is a program that provides so much more to folks with disabilities and really is a key to accessing the community and having the supports needed in your life to be in the community successfully. And so it's really important that that you keep in mind Medicaid and continue to let your federal representatives and senators, our senators, know why Medicaid is critical for you. Because without Medicaid, so many of the supports and services that everyone in this room relies on wouldn't be available to us. And so please keep that in mind when you're thinking about messages and the ways that you are communicating with our local legislators and our state legislators and our federal legislators, because this is a key piece of our success as a community, and we want to continue to help people to live successfully in the community, and Medicaid is, as I say, a big piece of that. So thank you again for coming, and I am going to introduce a few more people this morning. So next on the agenda, I have Lee Spruce. I haven't seen Lee yet today, and I'm hoping that she's in the room. Oh, is she out there in the lobby? Let's see, is Tracy Turner in the room? We'll have Tracy first and then Lee after Tracy. Awesome. Come on up here. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too.
You got this?
Yes.
Awesome.
Hi, my name is Tracy Turner, and I am a self-advocate, and I am I'm the co-chair. I got voted for in January. I'm on the Pierce County Development Advisor Board. I'm the co-chair. And what is important about SAIL, the self-advocacy group, is that we fight the bills, that we close down the institutions, like Mike Raymond has shut them down. I am in the 27th district. I've been doing Lobby Day for a long time. I'm a very strong advocate for us. I speak up for people that can't speak for themselves, and I am wear many hats. I'm a very strong person. I am making sure that we have affordable housing because we need it. My story is that I was homeless before, and it's scary to be in a shelter when you're disabled, and you know, it's important that I hope our legislators will listen to us, and also for our Medicare, and our food stamps. I'm very passionate about it, and thank you for letting me speak.
Awesome. Well done. Thank you. Thank you. So now I would like to welcome up here Lee Spruce, who is one of the co-chairs of the DD Council right now, and we work together. And I'm very glad that she made the journey here today. Thank you, Lee.
Hi, thank you, and I apologize for coming in late, but this actually gives me perfect opportunity to speak about this. Transportation is something that's really important, and specifically it really has to deal with access to the community for everybody. We have places to go. We got things to do. We have jobs. We've got friends to see. We have doctor's appointments. We've got a whole bunch of stuff that we have to do. And the way to get there is through transportation, which is not always accessible for everybody. Specifically, people with disabilities have a more difficult time because we don't necessarily drive, and we have to rely on public transportation, which a lot of times consists of paratransit, which I have found through actually using the systems myself is not always the best. It's better than nothing, but it doesn't always go where we need it to go because it's got to follow ADA policy, which has to follow where the buses go. And that really hinders our independence and being able to live independently and do what we want to do and where we want to go. So we really need to get on them to help make improvements to get to places like here in Olympia and also places to where our conventions are for People First as well as other activities, because we deserve to live, work, and play in our communities just like everybody else. Thank you.
Thank you. So, next on our agenda, we have Kathy Marahashi from the Arc of Washington. Thank you.
Thank you, Emily. I'm Kathy Marahashi, and I'm the Public Policy Specialist at the Arc of Washington. It's wonderful to see so many of you here live. I know you've been on our Zoom virtual advocacy days, but it's fun to see so many in person. So I'm here to talk about the bills that are happening this session. We've got a lot of bills. So some of you may have picked up in the back our list of bills, but I'm going to highlight some of them that I think are particularly important. First, I'll talk about the ones that I think really relate to the topic of today. So let me put my glasses on here. Hold on. So a couple of them, Representative Farivar spoke about already. 2319 about renaming the state institutions so they no longer say the word school. That's a really important bill. We're happy to say that that bill is moving along nicely. It had a hearing and it has moved, we believe it will be moved to the next level, which is great. House Bill 2200 increases access to data related to our the safety and stability of our RHC settings for people with IDD. What it does is it creates a dashboard about the various settings and lets us compare across settings about what's happening, particularly when people are dropped off at the hospital, when there's police interaction and other various things that we want to keep track of, and then we can have some comparative data there. And it looks back over a period of time to do that. House Bill 2230, streamlining monitoring and oversight activities related to community residential service business providers. This is the bill that Scott talked about earlier that kind of streamlines some of our things so that they can be more efficient, which is really important, and hopefully will help some of the supported living providers save some money. 2350, again, this is one of the ones Daria talked about, increasing transparency regarding RHCs, compliance with federal rules. So when they get dinged, they have to tell the people that live there that that has occurred. And also the 2415, which is about unexpected fatalities, so that we will know what happens if a person passes away at an RHC, the reasons why, and that they will do a review of that. Let's see, I think those were all those specific today, but also I'm going to tell you a little bit about our website. If you go to the Arc of Washington website, to arcwa.org, and you click on Advocacy and then click on Bill Tracker, you will be able to track our bills. There's a spreadsheet there. You can click on it. It's we change it up as things happen throughout the session almost daily during this time of year. And there are a lot of things, a lot of other bills. I'm going to pull out a couple just a sec. I think we talked mostly about our civil rights bills that we talked about on the first couple of pages. There's House Bill 1390, which repeals the Community Protection Act. That bill came forward from last year, and we're happy to say that they moved it to the floor calendar, so it's all ready to be voted on. So you can talk to your legislators and say, please vote yes on 1390. That's really important after a lot of work there, starting the past few years. Let's see. In education, there is 1795, which addresses restraint and isolation of students in public schools. That's a very important bill. Also a bill that is coming back from last year. It had a hearing, and it has an executive session, I think, tomorrow, which is important. So we'll see if it's going to, if it moves out of committee tomorrow, which is really important. There's several other education bills that may be of interest to you. There's some that are a little concerned about 5969 around high school and beyond plans. We're concerned about that bill because we think that it would allow the school districts to opt out of having to do the high school and beyond plan for people with disabilities. You replace their IEP. So you replace it with their IEP. So that's important. If that's important to you. There are a couple, let's see. A bill that was heard that might be important to you yesterday. 6070 supports the recovery of missing persons, including people with IDD, to make sure, I'm sure many of you heard about the case up in Everett, the young man that was missing, and this would create a system for support. Yes, can I help you? A what? Yeah, we do. Very sad to say that we do not have one today because nobody requested one ahead of time. We have to have it in advance notice. I'm so sorry. But thank you for, if you want to come again, please notice. We'll make sure we have one. Thank you. There's also 2323, establishing a blue envelope program that for people who drive that are neurodiverse could carry information to, they could give to a police officer if they are pulled over that explains that they are neurodiverse and ask specific questions that they could ask. That's 2323. Okay. Like I said, there's a lot of bills this session. Okay, so in 5681, that's also a bill that's coming back from last year concerning the age at which clients of the Developmental Disabilities Administration may receive employment and community inclusion services. It would drop the age, which is currently 21 to 19, I believe. And the goal is eventually to do that. It had a really good hearing on Monday. There was lots of good questions. So we're happy, we don't expect this bill probably to move forward this year because it would cost money, but we are educating our legislators about it, and that's very important. Let's see, one more page. We're almost to the end. Okay, this is a very important bill that just came up, 6163. Which would eliminate wait lists for the individual and family services waiver by including estimated expenditures for the waiver in the maintenance budget. So that means that they would, it's about planning in advance for the number of people that we need going forward for the IFS waiver. And that's really important. It had a hearing yesterday. If that's important to you, please let your legislators know. 2092 establishes a passenger rail advisory committee, which there was a hearing, and the hearing we said we want to make sure there's a person with disability on that advisory committee. HB 2337 concerns the training requirements for individual providers who are family members. This is a little bit complicated. There was a bill that said that they were going to require continuing ed for family members, 12 credits per year, which is a lot, and they didn't really have the curriculum to do that. And what this bill would do is make it voluntary rather than mandatory, because it would become mandatory in 2027. There's also 2475 concerning language access in accessible public programs, activities, and service conducted, operated, administered by state agencies that would require language access, which is really important. It has had a hearing yesterday at 1:30. So that's just a summary of our bills. You can pick up the rest of there. There might be others that are super important to you. The one thing I want to talk about briefly is the budget. And I know Sean talked a bit about it too. The thing that we're being told this year is there is no money, and that we really need to preserve and protect what we have. In the governor's budget, there was one thing that is particularly concerning, and it doesn't happen in this budget. It says 2028. And what it says is they would change eligibility for long-term care services. What that means is they could narrow who is eligible for our Medicaid waivers. And not just people coming into the system, but people that are already in the system and that have a waiver. And we're very concerned about that. And also the same, narrow the eligibility for people who receive personal care. Again, that's for your activities of daily living, bathing, dressing, all the things that we use those personal care hours. And we're very concerned that even though when they did the numbers, they said it would be between 2,000 and 2,500 people approximately within DDA that already receive those services that could potentially lose those services. So we don't want to see that happen. Some people, and yes, they're looking at people that need less support, but sometimes it's just that little bit of support that really makes somebody successful. And if you take that away, that could be really devastating to somebody. If maybe they just need that little bit of help during the week to grocery shop or whatever, or maybe they just need their job coach so they can keep their job, so they can pay for their housing and pay for the things they need, but without that, they would lose their job. So the message we need to say is, please don't cut or change the eligibilities. Please protect our services and our supports. So, that's a lot for us to think about, and I will turn it back over to Sean, or Emily.
No problem. So next, we have Sean to talk about sale and how you can be involved today. So, Sean, you want to come back over here again, or okay? Oh, can you get by me? Okay. Is this good to put it here? Okay.
Give me 1 minute. I think I'll step out.
Is that good there?
I hope so.
Little. There. Stay.
Before I do my next P,
Well,
this is Sean Latham again. I hope you are having a great day today, and you learned a lot. This week we focused on protecting our services and our rights. I know you will all agree that the services we have helps us be independent, and the rights we have are critical and should never be removed from us. Today's one-pager summary, directed at the legislators, state the following. Human beings are born with many individual traits, but two constant characteristics we all share are a desire for love and community. From our first interactions with our parents to meeting our first friends at school, to building a network of people so we can lead a full, meaningful life, all this happens in our communities. Like all humans, we, people with intellectual and developmental disabilities, ID, deserve and have the right to live in the community and have the services and support needed to lead a meaningful life. In the community, we can get a job, join community activities, rent or buy a house, find love, start a family, and much more. We feel like we live fuller lives when we are included in the community and don't get locked up away in segregated, restrictive congregate settings. We urge our legislators to protect our right to live in the community and our right to community services. So let's fight for our community service. As we advocate for our favorite bills to get out of their house of origin. I wanted to tell you that you can visit the legislative website and see what bills are coming up for a hearing or a vote on the floor. You can just go to leg.wa.gov. And please check out the TVW website to see the House and Senate in action at tvw.org. Hearings are going on all day, so please watch the hearings that interest you. A quick reminder that next week's Advocacy Day will be put on by the Community Employment Alliance and will also be in person at the United Churches of Olympia and will be followed by the Employment Rally at 1 p.m. on the Capitol steps. With that, I will end by saying, thank you for coming today. Thank you to our speakers. We hope you learned a lot. For more information about the issues you heard about today, we are going to post this week's one-pager on the ARC of Washington and Sales website, and please see the ARC's bills of interest. For additional information, I will send it to Emily for final word.
Any final word?
I would just say thank you again for coming, and we really appreciate seeing you here today. And I want to say that before you leave today, there is a short little survey about what you learned today at Advocacy Day on a green piece of paper, and that's really helpful for the ARC to know what worked well, and for the next times that we do these in person, please just return them to someone at the front table, or Bean. I don't know where Bean is, but anyway, and we're just really grateful that you came. Please enjoy the day. If you have questions, Sean and I and others would be glad to answer your questions. We will be here, so if you have questions now or here in the next little while, we'll be here. The rally does start at noon at the steps, so we'll look forward to seeing you there. Thank you so much.